In today's video, we have a ton of NHL news, including some trade talk regarding teams like the Edmonton Oilers, the Calgary Flames. We have another Jack Eichel update. We have a huge update on Evander Kane, including an update from the NHL on the gambling accusations and more new accusations, and a whole bunch of news from NHL Training Camps opening today. We're going to do all that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a absolutely ton of news today. This is going to be one of those videos you're going to want to watch all the way through because there is a lot of information that came out of the opening day of NHL training camps here today. Before we get into the NHL news, though, there was one quick news from Canadian Junior Hockey. We did get an announcement that the Memorial Cup will be returning, and the 2022 Memorial Cup tournament will take place this coming June in St. John, New Brunswick, here in my home province, hosted by the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League St. John Sea Dogs. So I'm super pumped for that. Obviously, I'll definitely be getting tickets to go to as many games as I'm able to. Been fun to watch some high ranking hockey. Been fun to see some of the NHL's top prospects and some of the top junior talents going head to head for the first time here in over 2 years. So let's hope nothing derails that tournament. Obviously, it's been a while since we've been able to have it, and I'm excited that it's coming back, and it's going to be so close to home here for me, which is awesome news just from a personal standpoint. A lot of NHL news from training camps today, as I mentioned. First up, Detroit made an announcement that Tyler Bertuzzi is their only player that's going to remain unvaccinated, and he's likely going to be missing a fair bit of time because he won't be able to play any games in Canada. So he'll have to stay home whenever they make a road trip to Canada. Obviously, they play Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto in their Atlantic Division. So clearly that's an issue. Of course, whenever he can't play due to COVID-related reasons and being unvaccinated, he does not get paid, and it's going to be believed here, based on his salary and new contract he signed, he's going to be forfeiting about $450,000, and that's just based on games that we know he'll have to miss based on the vaccination requirements for the location they're going to be playing in. If he ends up having to miss any additional time related to COVID, it could be more. So it's certainly going to be a huge financial loss for him, but that is his own personal choice. And there will likely be a few other players around the NHL as well making that choice because it's ultimately up to them. Edmonton Oilers, quick tidbit from them. Duncan Keith will not be joining them in training camp here right away. He's going to be about a week or so late. He is getting his second dose of the vaccine and had to go through a quarantine period before he's going to be able to do that. Join them. Sounded like he might have been hesitant to get the vaccine. I'm not really sure. That's a speculation, but based on what Ken Holland was saying, it kind of sounded like he was late getting it, and obviously that's why he's not going to be there. But either way, he will be at camp before it's all over. We also got word from the Oilers that Alex Stalock, who's likely was going to be their number 2 or 3 goaltender, depending on what they do with Koskinen this year, is likely not going to be able to play this year due to a heart condition that he developed that's related to COVID. So he actually had a COVID infection, I believe it was last year sometime, and he's developed some sort of heart condition that came from that. So obviously, that's bad news. You hate to hear those types of things, but as we know, this virus has been wreaking havoc on people in a variety of different ways, and that's certainly not something you like to hear, but it's just one of those things that is going to likely have an impact on him for some time here, so that's some really unfortunate news. Obviously, with the Oilers, we're going to talk about them a little bit further as well when it comes to goaltending. Phil Kessel in Arizona, he's not going to be in training camp. He showed up to do the physicals and all that, and he had a walking boot on. GM Bill Armstrong said that he was going to be 2 to 3 weeks before he can do on-ice activities. I'm not sure exactly what happened with Kessel. I'm assuming he had some sort of off-season injury. Don't really know any details as to what happened, but he's in a walking boot, can't play, can't participate in camp right away, and he's based on the timeline they gave, he'll miss training camp and might even miss the beginning of the NHL season. Hard to say, but it shouldn't be too much longer than that before he can resume some activities. We also had news out of St. Louis today. They've made some executive hires. They're adding former Oilers and Bruins GM Peter Chiarelli as an executive vice president of hockey operations. I know obviously the last time when he was the GM with the Oilers, things didn't go overly well. I know many might be surprised by that, but obviously he's joining the Blues in that capacity. And they're also bringing back Ken Hitchcock. Yes, Hitch makes another return to the NHL world. Seems like he can't stay away completely. He's coming back as a coaching consultant, so not necessarily going to be there all the time, but he'll still be working with the Blues in a consulting type of role. So there's a couple of veteran hockey guys there that have been around the game for a long time joining their NHL executive staff. We also got word that the Vancouver Canucks are bringing in Alex Chiasson, former Oiler, on a PTO. So he'll be another player in Vancouver Canucks camp. And we also got word as well from the Rangers, from comments from newly hired head coach Gerard Gallant, that they more than likely are going to be naming a captain. He said that he would be willing to bet on the fact that they will have a captain by the time they play their first game this season. I know we had speculated about that in a video a couple of weeks ago about which NHL teams would be naming new captains this year, and we thought the Rangers would be one of those teams and talk about who it could be. And it sounds like they're in the process of making a decision, and likely will have that announced before their first game of the season. So likely at the end of training camp, most likely, or possibly even on opening night. I'm not sure when they'll make that announcement, but shouldn't be too long. Also got word on Insider Trading tonight on TSN that Eric Staal, longtime NHL veteran, still wants to play. He currently remains unsigned. He does not have an NHL team to call home right now, but would like to continue playing. He's not yet ready to retire. It sounds like a return to Montreal is out of the question right now. They obviously have gone other direction, made lots of other moves. He would love to be able to stay home and play in Minnesota, where he's been living with his family the past few years, but it doesn't sound like that's an option. Pierre LeBrun on TSN said it didn't sound like there was any interest from the Wild to bring him back. So for, ease of purpose here with family and all that, it's probably easiest if he plays in the States. So hard to say exactly where he goes, but his agent is exploring opportunities to see if he can find a contract for Eric Staal to play that's in the U.S. and not too far from home, and see what he can do, because he's not ready to hang him up here just yet. Now, we also got word tonight that the NHL has completed its investigation on Evander Kane regarding the betting accusations that his soon-to-be ex-wife had made on social media, and he has indeed been cleared. I'll show you the statement that the NHL released here just a short time ago. Basically, it says that they obviously had the information from him that he denied everything, but they've also conducted their own investigation to verify that they could not find any wrongdoing when it comes to the betting scandal. They've checked a variety of things out, something that they've really done their homework, and they could not find any irregularities or reasons to suggest that that indeed it was happening. However, that's not the end of the story. New accusations have surfaced, and the NHL is now aware of those. Those surfaced last night, which I was reading a new article about everything that came forth from the side of his ex-wife through her lawyers in their court case. He's now being accused of sexual assault and domestic violence. And there were some pretty graphic details in the article from her side of things, outlining what had transpired or what she's accusing him of. And if they are true, it's disgusting. And now I hope that it's not true, but I guess time will tell, and we'll let the justice system do their thing here. Obviously, these accusations are pretty strong, pretty detailed, and they're going to have to substantiate them in court, of course, for anything to be, in a way of punishment to be brought to him. So I guess time will tell. But the NHL is now investigating those claims to figure things out. We've seen numerous professional sports leagues have issues with players being accused of domestic violence and things like that before, and a lot of the time players can be suspended while they're going through the process to clear themselves. I mean, they may or may not be suspended with or without pay. There could be different things. Anyways, we'll have to see what they do, but it could very well lead to him not playing hockey, at least for a period of time. Hard to say. But like I said, these accusations are pretty severe. I really don't want to go into great detail. I'll link the article in the pinned comment down below. You can read it for yourself. But it's I'll warn you, it is graphic in nature. There's lots of details, and it's disgusting, and things that anyways, moving on here. This is not the end of the story for Kane and these nasty allegations, and I'm not sure what comes next for him. He cleared of one thing, new problem pops up. And it also indicated that it wasn't just casinos that he owed money to, that apparently it's rumored that he also owes money to some high-profile poker players, and it looks as though poker is kind of the game that he plays the most, where he's been doing the gambling and getting himself into a lot of debt and a lot of issues here. So, I mean, that's, obviously a little bit of hearsay, but not that it matters too much, but it looks as though that's kind of the area. It's not so much gambling on hockey games or sports that's created the issues for him. It appears to be poker based on what's out there in this latest information going through the court system here. But just an ugly mess. I just hope everything is handled properly, and regardless of what's true, that they determine what the truth is, and we can all kind of move on here. And if Kane is guilty, that he's dealt with appropriately. That's really all we can say about that. Now, we do have some NHL trade talk and other things to talk about here in the video today. Before we do that, we do need to pause for a moment and acknowledge our channel sponsor, Manscaped. Top Shelf Hockey is proud to be sponsored by Manscaped. Of course, with Manscaped, we have a special offer here for all Top Shelf Hockey viewers, where you can get 20% off and free shipping on all orders at manscaped.com. Now, of course, Manscaped just launched a brand new Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, which is a fantastic product. They've taken the level up here, even again with the skin-safe replaceable blades. It's waterproof, it's wireless charging, has a travel lock on it, as well as a nice light so you don't miss what you're doing. So certainly a terrific product. Now, many people associate Manscaped with their trimmers, which is certainly kind of their top product, but they do have a lot of other great options as well, including what they call the Weed Whacker, which is another trimmer for your ears and nose. And they have a variety of deodorants and sprays as well, which also keep you fresh and are terrific as well. So certainly Manscaped has a lot to offer, and we certainly highly recommend all of their products. So check out manscaped.com and use promo code TSH for 20% off and free shipping. Now, most of this information comes from Elliotte Friedman's newest 32 Thoughts blog, which was just released here in the past 24 hours. One item he does touch on here is Jack Eichel. Obviously, this saga has been drawn out for some time. He believes that what's going to happen here in the early part of training camp is that Jack Eichel would report, likely fail his physical, and he also speculates about the fact that the Sabres might strip him of the captaincy, obviously while everything is getting sorted out. As we've talked about before in a recent video, there was a number of specialists that saw Eichel over the offseason, but especially since he's had his new agent, Pat Brisson, dealing with this situation here, and there just really isn't a major general consensus on getting the disc replacement surgery. The Sabres are still adamant on the fusion surgery, and we'll see where this goes, but things could possibly get a little bit, uglier here. But obviously it looks as though that Eichel likely ends up on injured reserve, and while they continue to sort things out, it is remotely possible, according to Darren Dreger of TSN, he commented on this as well, that Eichel could be traded and get his surgery by the team that acquires him, that consents to this new disc replacement surgery, although most people feel right now that it's very much unlikely that the surgery is going to have to be agreed to between Eichel and the Sabres, get himself healthy, and then be traded from there. But it will certainly be very interesting to see if the captaincy is indeed stripped from him at all. Of course, quick update on the Brady Tkachuk situation. Many believe that right now money and term are pretty well close on what both sides want to do, that it's basically the structure of the contract holding things up. So we're talking about possible signing bonus money. We're talking about possible trade protection once he's eligible later into the contract. And those are the items kind of holding things up here right now. But at this point, I don't think there's too much pressure to get anything done here too quickly, but obviously they want to have him in their opening night lineup if at all possible, so hopefully they get something ironed out soon. If they can't, they could change gears and go to a short-term deal and continue negotiating as they work away at this, but only time will tell. When it comes to the Edmonton Oilers, as I talked about earlier, Elliotte Friedman believes they're not done trying to change up their goaltending. He says that Mike Smith obviously is under contract, should be there, but otherwise, certainly some question marks, so that leads us to think that they're still trying to work on moving on from Mikko Koskinen. Obviously, he has not played well the past couple of seasons. He still has 1 year left on the deal. I thought he would be bought out this past offseason. He was not. Obviously, they'd like to find a way to upgrade that. There are some teams out there with goaltenders that are likely available for the right price, but to get Koskinen off their hands is certainly going to be the challenge here. They could also try to bury Koskinen in the minors, but the problem is if they do that, they put him through waivers. If he clears, which I think he probably would, they're only going to get just over $1 million in cap relief, which isn't really going to give them a ton of spending money to go out and acquire another goalie to replace him. I guess it's possible. There's enough goalies that are in backup status that are, making $900,000, $1 million, something like that. But there's really not much out there that would be available. It'd be tough to do. So it'll be interesting to see how Ken Holland and the Oilers approach this. But Friedman thinks that they're not done with goaltending, and that a move could be coming here soon. And we also want to touch on the Calgary Flames. He also had a note on Johnny Gaudreau in his latest blog, talking about the fact that now that we're into the beginning of training camp, that Gaudreau will not be talking about the contract publicly, that when Johnny Gaudreau talks to the media for the first time, that's likely going to be brought up that he will not answer questions regarding his contract, and that Flames management are going to do the same thing. They're not going to be talking about it at all. They don't want any distractions. So clearly there's a lot of uncertainty, I think is fair to say, when it comes to his future in Calgary, which is something that we've talked about really for the better part of a couple of years off and on. There's been times when it looks as though a trade was coming, other times when it was looking like maybe he'll re-sign and stay. It seems to be really unclear, and I don't know that either side really knows 100% either way what's really going to happen. I think that maybe the Flames start to the season, as I've said before, very well could play a major role here. If they get off to a good start, the first 20 games looking like they're going to be able to be a playoff team, they're not going to want to lose their star player. Obviously, that's just simple as that. But if things start off slow and they continue to struggle and things don't really look much better than last year, I would suspect an early season shakeup very well could be on the radar. And he, along with a guy like Sean Monahan, if he's playing well enough to gain interest, will likely be the guys to go. The Flames are also teasing possibly about naming a new captain through their social media accounts. I don't know if they're going to do that right away or not. But Monahan and Gaudreau's names were nowhere to be found on all the stuff they posted. They had guys like Michael Backlund, they had Chris Tanev, they had Matthew Tkachuk, all featured in different photos and stuff on their account. So we'll see where things go on that front. But the fact that they're not going to be talking about anything isn't overly shocking. But it does say to me that there's a lot of uncertainty. They really don't know which way this is going to go, and they just don't want to make anything public here and keep it behind closed doors, which again sometimes is for the best, but I'm sure over time something will likely leak out eventually. But let me know what your thoughts are on the future of Johnny Gaudreau, Jack Eichel, Oilers goaltending, and everything else we've talked about here today. All kinds of small tidbits of news coming out of NHL training camps, and I'd really like to know what you think about Evander Kane and how the league is going to handle that as well. So if you're new to this channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news, rumors, and analysis on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.